find it delightful. Got it.
Hello, hello, welcome. Today, I'm going to do a little something different on my blog. I am having a conversation with my dear friend, Laura DeVault. Laura and I have been friends for, well, a long time is the answer to that question. But in addition to being my friend, Laura is also a meditation teacher. I think you and I started meditating at the same time, roughly the same time.
Could very well be.
Yes. Anyway, it was some you've been more you've adhered to it better than I have. Um, but um, but we have a similar language around these things. Yeah. And Laura is also an end of life doula. So Laura is somebody who I love for lots of reasons. But one of the reasons I love being friends with Laura is the conversations we have. And not long ago, we are recording this just before Christmas in 2023. And we were talking about our choices in our families around gift giving. And we began to investigate the concept and the practice of generosity. So I thought we would have a short little conversation about generosity. And so I just want to begin by saying thank you for doing this with me. Moi, I love you. And then just tell me, let's just start by just talking about what do you think about generosity? Is it as a meditation teacher, as a mindfulness practitioner, but also just as like a human person? How do you think about and what does generosity mean for you?
Gosh, it's such a great question. It's so many great questions. Um, Thank you for having me to have this conversation with you. Um, I want to go back to our early meditation days and just remind you that some of those meditation times were sitting on my roof.
I
We
do,
would
I remember
climb
that.
out on the roof and meditate together in the sunshine. I love that. Um, As a meditation teacher, there are lots of teachings, Buddhist teachings about generosity. Generosity is the first of the paramis, the first of the divine abodes. The Buddha said that without generosity, we cannot have an enlightened mind. It's the first step. Um, that's good. That's a good first step. I like that. And the Buddha also said that he teaches one thing. The Buddha teaches suffering and the end of suffering. And generosity is one of those ways to end suffering. Generosity has been taught by the Buddha and proven by science to make us more happy.
Mm,
And we all want happiness and we all want to avoid pain. So if there's a prescription, be generous. You'll be happy.
mm,
I find
yeah,
that kind of an easy directive.
yeah,
And it's my own experience. I mean, come on, we know,
right.
you and I know what it feels like to be mucking about in the kitchen making something for someone because we love them,
Hmm.
whether it's our partner, our family, someone that we love who's not feeling well or needs a little extra support. We love being generous
Right.
with our love.
Yes, yes,
That's really
yeah,
what we're doing, right? We're
yeah.
being generous with our love. We're showing you really matter to me.
Hmm.
I care
Yeah,
for you here.
right. I remember in a time when I was one of the recipients of said kind of love and support, and somebody said, "Please ask again.
Yes.
Please give me the opportunity to do this again." And
Yeah.
I remember how good, I mean, it obviously felt good to receive the direct support, but to be reminded that this is to ask for help is an act of generosity to
Generosity.
your friends or the people
Yes.
who love you, to give you them a chance to stretch their own generosity muscles. Yeah.
That's wonderful. The first Dharma talk I ever gave was that the Buddha prescribes generosity. And in order to allow our friends to have the experience of generosity, sometimes we need to ask.
Right.
And in fact, asking is an act of generosity. When
Mm.
I was similarly in a situation where I was the recipient of some of that support, I got an email from a friend who said, "Please, may I bring you?" And that was just so lovely. Yes. How can
Yeah.
you say no to "please, may I"? Yes, of course you may.
Yeah.
And thank you. You
Yeah.
know, it was lovely
Yeah.
for
So it's
both of us.
it's it's interesting how it goes both ways. And
Yeah.
I guess I didn't really know, I guess I don't really didn't really know that the Buddha's teachings had generosity on such a high sort of high
Yeah.
on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Buddha did love the lists. So
He did love the
okay,
list.
so that makes so much sense in my own experience, in my own body. However, at this time of the year, I find myself really pushing against the hyper consumerism,
Yeah.
and the disposability of so much of what is bought at this time of year, how much waste there is, how so much of the season is focused on what we buy.
Hmm.
And so I don't know how many years ago it was, probably 5 years or so ago. In my family of origin, we decided that it was just presents for the kiddos and cutting out presents to the adults. And at the time, and I would say still, it feels more in alignment with my values, that cares about um, how much uh, waste there is in the world, and how um, and where is the best place for us to spend our money, and all of those kinds of things. It felt aligned with those values. And in light of this conversation, and in light of our own desire to be generous, I wonder where there's a conflict there for me.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so how do you think about balancing this pull against the hyper consumerism, which I
Hmm.
think is off-putting, not just to me, I think that, that a lot of us share that feeling, and cultivating our own generosity?
I think that's a really interesting question. I used to feel when we were doing our family did much like yours, presents just for the kiddos after a while, so that's where we are now. And I remember before that, the stress of holidays, finding a parking space, finding the perfect gift, it was just fraught with all of the things, expectations. Gotta do this, gotta do that. This meal has to be this special, all those things. Um, and I'm really happy to have given that up, that kind of manic holiday preparation. And buying plastic yucky things feels yucky, so that isn't the answer, right? I don't, ugh, yeah, I'm with you. Um, but buying something or preparing something or choosing something or inventing something somehow,
Making something, yeah.
exactly, all of those things. Um, if the thing I make says, "I see you, this matters to you, and so it matters to me," that feels really good to me, to see that person and choose something that I really think that person will enjoy. Um, if it's a plastic yucky thing, I don't get that same kind of joy. So with a tiny tot, that can be challenging. What is the tiny tot gift? Um, and then I go through all the, so is it wooden? Is it recyclable? Is it, those sorts of things for kids. But for grown-ups, it's like I want them to feel I see you, and I want them to feel, oh, this is from Laura. This is it meets both of our needs. It says something about me. It says something about you. It says
Mhm,
something about our relationship.
mhm,
It says something about warmth. It says all of those things that
mhm,
we want our gifts, that I want my gifts to say.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, disposable consumerism, no.
Yeah,
Eh.
right.
But a Dharma teacher told me once, um, do what you can do for someone else out of love. If you're not feeling the love, don't do the thing.
Mm,
And that's really helped me in a countless situations and at Christmas
yeah,
and at gift giving time.
yeah,
Does this feel good to me? Does
yeah,
this honor who I am and who this
yeah,
other being is and the planet and all the other myriad of things that we balance? Does this feel like love? And if it doesn't, I guess that's my navigation
yeah.
technique.
Okay, so that is so helpful because this leads me to my next conundrum that I bring to your feet. So, because I totally resonate with the stress. I mean, the stress that I would go into somewhere around mid-November, just looking down the barrel of the next 6 weeks and
Yeah,
feeling all of those feelings. And you use the word expectation. And one of our favorite writers together, Anne Lamott, says that expectations are resentments under construction,
yeah,
which speaks to your Dharma teacher's directives. It's like if you're feeling resentful about what you're having to do at this time of year, don't do it.
right.
However, I mean, and expectation is such a big part of this whole season.
Sure.
And for pretty much anybody who celebrates anything at this time of year, there is so much expectation. And
Right.
it can be, we've always done it this way. We have to do it. You have it. We
Tradition.
have to have the thing with the marshmallows and the pineapple.
Sorry, did I make that face?
Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oops.
And we have to whatever, fill in the blank. Your
Yeah,
family knows, what it is in your people's world.
Yorkshire pudding.
Oh my. Okay. So there you go. Um, and so for me, there is this friction between wanting to do something out of love, not out of pressure, not out of expectation, but because I want to do it, and how that goes against the sort of norm of the season. And 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 so navigating the feelings of wanting to be true to myself and my own values, my own desire to be acting out of love, and the fact that I'm in the midst of a tornado of ribbon and gift wrap, and I might be making different choices than other people.
You might be making different
I might
choices.
be making different
Yeah.
choices than many of the
Mm.
people around me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, what's your experience with that about maybe not giving or giving differently or something when you're in the midst of the flurry of the expectation flurry?
Um, then I sometimes just grit my teeth and do me.
Mm, mm,
And I can't say it that that always goes smoothly, you know, because I don't
yeah.
know, but I don't, I guess it becomes a place of drawing the line. You know, your expectation might be for a great big plastic Tonka toy. I can't.
Hmm.
Your expectation, whatever it might be, I can't.
Hmm.
And I guess that goes back to what we were talking about earlier about, how does it feel? Does it make me feel the love or does it make me feel the, ugh,
Yeah, the cookie. Yeah.
it's a Grinch? Do I want to feel Grinchy? No. But do I want to feel like I'm a polluter? No.
Yeah.
of the planet or of your brain, no, I'm going to give you a nice pop-up book or, something. Anyway, um, so there's that expectation and resentment. And I think something I've learned since COVID was that expectations are a great source of disappointment as well. Not just that resentment, which is tinged with anger and, icky that way, but crushing disappointment. The first year I couldn't have Christmas with my kids, I had no idea. These are grown ass men.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Bleep,
Welcome
bleep
to
if you want.
drop any of those. No.
Um, these are grown ass men. And it was crushing to me that we couldn't see each other for Christmas.
Hmm.
So that expectation, born of tradition, of love, of familial, of mama,
Mhm.
all the things, was my undoing that year. This year, it's a slightly different story, but expectations have also been raised for something else, and disappointments followed right quickly down that path. Um, so where am I going with that? I don't know. Where am I going with that? Um, I don't know.
Well,
I don't.
just doing, I mean, the two things I'm hearing you say are, first of all, that it's important to be generous from you
Right.
and not from somebody else's expectation.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Right. So in regards to like the Tonka toy or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And it's
perha-
a yes and.
and perhaps take a look at, like, investigate my own expectations. um as you say, the first year it was like, what?
Yeah.
And it sounded to me like perhaps surprising how disappointed you were, and really just recognizing
Yeah.
that that really, it rarely goes well, the whole expectation thing.
Right. And some
And
of those expectations are just invisible
yeah.
until
Yeah.
they're popped.
Right. Right. Yes. COVID was great for that, wasn't it?
Was so great for that. So many benefits of college.
So many things that we were swimming in that we didn't realize that,
Yeah. Oh, yes.
this is something I believed for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this also leads me to, you know, I guess what I was getting at, um, with my previous question was that there are times where I can feel like I am perceived as a Grinchy Grinch
Mm-hmm.
because I don't give as many presents as I used to, and I don't send out the cards and the do the things.
Right.
And I don't do them because it's not me to do them.
Right.
And yet, there can be this um, possibility that I'm perceived in this way. But the truth is, it's not that I don't like giving presents.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I don't like giving. I
Right.
love to give. I realized this morning that what I don't like is being bullied into doing it. And the
Right.
season feels like I get bullied
Mm.
into doing it.
Yeah.
And that's where I start to push back and feel a lot of resistance and feel a lot of the resentment and the pressure,
Mm.
um, of that obligation,
Right.
the obligatory giving. And so I'm curious about how you can be intentionally generous, but on your own terms
Mm-hmm.
and in a thoughtful and love-centered way. And um, how do you approach that these days, at the moment, today?
Well, yesterday,
Yeah.
this year, one thing I discovered, and I think I have discovered this before, as you and I have talked about many times, some lessons we need to learn more than once.
Yeah.
One thing I've learned is that sometimes meeting the obligation turns out to be a blast. I
Ooh.
might go into it feeling like, do we have to do this again? Is this, I know they're going to want that, and I don't want that. And, oh, she really likes this. I'll do this. I'll surprise her. She won't expect me to do this thing because it's not what we've been doing, or because it's not what we had planned this time, because we're scaling back and we're doing all this. But I'm going to do this one thing. And it's really, really fun.
Mhm.
Another thing the Buddha said was to contemplate your action before you do it, while you do it, and when you're finished. So, how do I feel? Okay, this was a trivial, silly example, but in my family of origin, cheese and crackers were like the hors d'oeuvre. My sister came over to celebrate what we pretended was our New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve, because we were not going to be able to spend Christmas Eve together. And I bought Triscuits because Triscuits were the thing. And it wasn't like anything special, but when I saw the Triscuits on the shelf in the store, I thought, "Oh, Annie will get this. She'll know, she'll feel that traditionish thing continuing." And then other decisions I made about that evening and how it would go and what I would make and how I would do it, although they pretty much followed to a large degree what our tradition was, it was delightful to do it because of how I knew she would feel about those things.
Mm. Mm.
So, though I might have in another situation felt that obligatory gnashing of teeth,
Mhm.
I found myself really enjoying
Oh,
doing
interesting.
what someone else would be delighted by.
Mhm.
And that's that sympathetic joy, right?
Yes.
Another one of those
Mhm.
Buddhist things
Mhm.
on the list is sympathetic joy, when you can just be with someone else in their pleasure and take true pleasure in it, not
Mhm.
wanting what they have for yourself, but taking true pleasure in somebody else's delight.
Mhm.
And I think
Interesting.
that's what generosity feels like.
Right. Right. So sometimes finding your way into the obligation is a way into true generosity,
Yeah,
love-centered generosity. Yeah, and what I'm hearing you saying is that you are genuinely approaching it from the recipient's point of view.
right. Yeah,
Because we were talking before about like, well, like this, it's not okay with me. Like I has to come
right,
from me,
right,
and Auntie's not going to give you that thing.
right. Exactly,
Auntie's going to give you this other thing, which Auntie hopes that you also really love,
exactly.
but um, is not necessarily, uh, yeah, the original
Yeah.
uh, expectation or obligation. So yeah, and the other thing that that comes to me is allowing my generosity to be more 365 than one or two,
Yeah. Yeah.
as to be um, present to the people I love as I'm moving through the world and
Hmm.
saying to myself, ah, that. Or in times of need, as we've talked about before, that like, oh man, she could really use
Hmm.
some love right now.
Yeah.
And even though it is just a day, it is just a Tuesday, that's
Yeah.
not anything, right?
Yeah.
So for me, that kind of thoughtfulness can sometimes be even more impactful
Yes.
than on the big day. I mean, I
Mhm.
think it can land in a different way. Like, oh wow, you were thinking of me and it's not any particular time.
Yeah.
You
You
were just
must
thinking,
just
you were
love,
spontaneously thinking of me.
you must love
What?
me.
Love me. Yeah.
Woo! That
Yeah.
feels good.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Oh man. So,
Jack Kornfield, another meditation teacher, said
mhm.
once, I was listening to a talk by him, and he said he adopted this practice that whenever he thought of giving something to someone, he just did it. Don't question it, don't second guess it, because how often do we do that? Oh, that's not good enough, or they don't really need that, or that's sort of stupid, or that's not. Now you know a little more about what goes on in my brain, and I bet that doesn't surprise you. Um, so I have kind of adopted Jack
Yes.
Kornfield's approach
Yes.
too, and so that's another way for me to do it on the Tuesday.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
You know, I come
That's so
across something
interesting.
and I think
I heard a very similar teaching from Sharon Salzberg
they're
that,
good buddies. I wonder if
yeah,
they
I
share
think they
that.
are.
Yeah,
They may be in cahoots
I bet.
with the Buddha. Yeah, but I think that's such a great reminder. Just like if you have that impulse,
Exactly.
that's an impulse to go with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, as I remember Jack Kornfield saying, I've never been sorry,
Oh, right.
right?
Right.
E- Even if you're thinking, oh, this is sort of corny or it's whatever.
Or this is something I like I'm giving you this gift that
Yes.
I really love, and what if I give this thing that I really love away?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Sharon Salzberg teaches that when we do that, it helps us realize that we're really okay.
Yeah.
We're really
Yeah.
okay on our own
Yeah.
without the thing.
Without all the
That,
scaffolding of all of our stuff.
yeah, we're really okay. And we're really the same. It's that oneness thing that the Buddhists talk about all the time that's sometimes very confusing. But we're the same. You know, I'm giving this away. I hope you really like it because I don't know if I can really do this. It's very scary. And we realize that we're doing the same thing. You know,
Right.
we're being together,
Yeah.
being
Oh,
one together.
yeah.
Yeah.
That, and it gets back to the sympathetic joy.
Yeah,
Your joy is my joy. Yeah.
exactly.
Your grief
It's
is
a,
my grief. Yeah. It's all,
yeah,
we are all the same.
it's a very
What?
heart-opening thing.
Yeah. So what else? What else? Anything else that I didn't ask you about generosity? Any other thoughts about this whole topic that is simple in some ways and complex in others?
I don't know. I mean, I do feel like it's something that we could talk about for hours and hours, and as you and I tend to be able to do. Um, but I don't think I have anything right here, right now, that still needs to be said.
Well, I will say to anybody who's listening that I welcome any thoughts that you have about generosity, any ways that you navigate these landmines of expectation and obligation and borderline holiday bullying, and how it feels, what feels great to you. So I would love if you leave that in the comments. Laura, thank you so much. Just tell people who are listening about the work that you do, any ways that people can connect with you. I would love just to end with that.
Thank you. Um, I really enjoy helping people have important conversations about the end of their lives. It's not required to have a diagnosis or a prognosis. And we all have work to do in terms of accepting the inevitability of the end. And it's a joy to be able to help people do that, from tasks that need to be accomplished to very intimate conversations about the meaning of life, the meaning of your life, the meaning of what you're leaving behind
Mm,
when you go.
mm,
And I think it helps us live more fully.
mhm. Right. Yes. Yes. I think talking about dying helps us with living. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Get clear about the living. Getting clear
yeah,
about dying gets clear about living.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have a website under construction, so I can't steer you to that quite yet. But anybody's free certainly to email me at laura devault at google.com. No, Laura DeVault at Gmail. That's who it is.
I will put that
You
in.
could
And
just put it in the show notes.
when
That
your
would be
website
swell.
is up, I will also add that.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Oh, sweet friend. Thank you.
Mwah.
Mwah. Happy, merry
Be
everything
with you.
in the midst
Love
of
you.
everything.
All of it.